Hello, Summit listeners. Today I have the pleasure of interviewing Samantha Avery. Hi, Samantha.
Hi, Deb. Great to be here.
Yeah, welcome to the Summit. I'm happy that you're here.
Thank you very much. It's a real honor.
Samantha's topic today is emotional freedom and resilience with Reiki. Samantha is a Reiki Master Teacher and a spiritual healer. She is a member of the Australian Reiki professionals practicing in Sydney's beautiful North Shore, Australia. For more than 12 years, Samantha has supported her clients through emotional empowerment, career and relationship growth, and spiritual development. Samantha practices from her Sunny Healing Center in Sydney and supports international clients with remote healings and readings and online classes. Samantha's strength is getting to the root of the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual imbalance to achieve deep healing. Samantha is well regarded for the gentle, safe space she creates for her clients and students to access the higher energy of Reiki. Samantha is passionate about sharing Reiki and facilitates regular classes in Reiki 1, 2, Master, and Teacher training. The Reiki community she supports receive additional Reiki workshops and mentoring to support their professional Reiki practice throughout the year. Samantha, let's talk about emotional freedom. But first, for our Summit listeners, can you define it? What is emotional freedom?
Good question. Thank you, Deb. Emotional freedom is when you are at peace with yourself, and in inner peace and inner calm, when your emotions aren't ruling you from a negative aspect, but your inner peace and inner love is actually expanding you and expanding your experiences. So emotional freedom is very important for us on a personal level, on a spiritual level. Our emotional limitations limit our life and our outlook and also our relationship. So for me, emotional freedom is paramount to our spiritual development.
I agree. It's beautiful. How can Reiki help with emotional freedom?
Reiki reminds us that we're already in perfect harmony. Reiki reminds us that we have the inner peace within us, that we are full of light and calm and peace. It reminds us that we are connected to Source. It reminds us that unconditional love does exist. Unconditional love is a tangible experience. And so when we practice Reiki, we practice with our friends, our clients, our colleagues, and we always see them as already healed. We see them as perfect harmony, perfect balance. And life gets busy. We have situations, there are ups and downs, and we're here on planet Earth to experience those challenges. So by having our Reiki treatments or our Reiki practice, it reminds us that we have this inner peace. So for me, Reiki is extremely powerful. It takes us to that place of purity without the busyness or the noise of the ego and society and the shoulds and the coulds and the all of the rest of the heaviness that can affect our vision of who we are.
And as practitioners, as we give a session, we get a session. So that helps us stay in that place. And our clients, it seems like no matter how they come into a session, they always leave in that beautiful space of love.
That's absolutely right. And when you see that glow over their face and the peace and the calm, that everything's okay.
Yeah.
Whatever's happening, everything's okay, and they have the support and the love. For me, Reiki is very much about love. And it's wonderful, isn't it, when you see people that come for many sessions and people that come for their first session. I love that. When they after a session, they say, I don't know what happened.
Right.
Did I sleep or not, but I feel amazing. I feel so relaxed. I just feel whole.
Yeah.
And it's an absolute gift. And I think it's wonderful that Reiki can remind us, well, that's who we really are.
It is who we really are. I always say it's the key that brings us back to ourselves, our true selves, that love that we are. And they feel that, and to be able to help facilitate that and to watch that transformation is just such a gift, isn't it?
It is. It really, really is. Yeah. It makes you glow inside, doesn't it? It's such an honor to facilitate.
It is. That. It really is. Let's talk a little bit about the Reiki principles. I have a couple of questions about that. But first, can you remind our listeners of the Reiki principles?
Yes, I'd love to. Thank you. Obviously, Reiki comes from Japan, and when we translate Japanese into Western language, we don't always have the direct translation can vary. So for our listeners, there may be different variations on these principles. So this is how I was taught, and we've probably changed the wording of these into a more positive aspect, but it is really about the essence and the feeling of these principles. So for us, it's just for today, and I love that. Just in this moment, doesn't matter about yesterday or an hour ago or tomorrow, just for today. Do not worry. Just for today, do not anger. Just for today, respect all living things. Just for today, count your blessings. Just for today, do your work honestly. And those principles have so much meaning. They're so enriched with wisdom and insight and awakening. And we know that Mikao Usui Sensei asked his students to practice the principles in Gasso, in prayer position. And that was the guidance to enlightenment. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I first started Reiki, when I did Reiki 1, I would have these principles on the mirror in my bathroom, and I would recite them every day at every opportunity. And they really did help me process whatever I was experiencing that day.
Right?
Yeah, they're amazing, aren't they?
And they keep you in the moment. They keep you focused. They keep you grounded. They keep you tapped into that energy. Yeah, I whenever I teach level 1 and I give the students these principles, I always say, what a world we would live in if everybody was conscious of these principles and practiced them every day.
Yes, yes. And we go so deep with them, so deep. Mm-hmm. And, just for today, do not worry. We're in an epidemic of worry and stress.
Right.
So instead of sitting in the worry, the principles are not about pretend you're not worrying. It's not about suppressing worry. It's about, okay, what am I worrying about? Mm-hmm. What action can I take that I can then relieve myself of unnecessarily concern, of staying in that limbo anxiety? Mm-hmm. Of worries about what's going to happen. That's anxiety. Mm-hmm. So just do not worry. And so if we're looking at what are we really worrying about, when we look deeply, you can go into 2 or 3 layers, and when you get really to the core of it, it usually comes back to us.
Yes, that's so true. So tell me how you believe the Reiki principles relate or work with the emotional freedom. Let's talk about that connection, which we kind of already are, but if you could expand on that, I would appreciate that.
Thank you. It's a really good question. When we get emotionally caught up or limited, we narrow our viewpoint and we externalize. Mm-hmm. It's very easy to go into blame or helplessness or victim. We go into different types of emotions. When we look at the principles, it helps us to be in the moment, as you say, and to absolutely explore what is really happening. Mm-hmm. So just for today, do not worry. And we've just touched on that. What is it that I'm really worrying about? Mm-hmm. It could be that we could be in a job that we're not happy in, and we're worried. Well, what are we worried about? Are we worried about losing our job? Or we're worried about not getting the promotion? Or we're worried about perhaps there's conflict at work? there's many things to be worried about. Could be dynamics. If we look at that, are we worried about those things? What is it? It's the fear behind it. And so that cripples us emotionally. But when we realize, okay, I'm fearful of losing the job. Okay, am I fearful of actually achieving? And quite often it's the opposite.
It is, right.
And have you ever been in a situation of, I've heard many stories where somebody's very, very worried about their performance in their role. And a month later, we would have done some work, obviously, about releasing that fear. A month later, they get rewarded in their job, and because of our emotional intensity. So also, just for today, do not anger. Now, anger is take action now. Anger is saying, okay, enough. This solar plexus kicking into gear. The solar plexus is, what about me? It's the power center of our emotions, of our feelings. And when we feel we're giving too much, or we're not giving enough to ourselves, if we're undernourished, we kick into gear, into a survival mode, which says, what about me? Hang on a minute. Let's stop right here. I need to support me. And it's a very self-nurturing, not selfish. It's self-love.
It is. It teaches us how to love ourselves. Yes.
Yeah.
If we're willing to think about it that far, to stop and to really, what does this mean? What does this have to teach me?
And be comfortable with it without judgment. I think that's the key. With our emotions, if we can be really kind to ourselves and honest without judgment. I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling frustrated, maybe I'm feeling jealous. So what's coming up there? What's behind that jealousy? Well, maybe I'm feeling unloved. Maybe I'm feeling a little neglected. Okay, so where am I not loving myself? Where am I neglecting myself? Because if I care for myself, I have more energy in my solar plexus, I have more kindness and love towards myself, and then I can visualize, see things more lovingly. When we're fulfilling our solar plexus, our center of ourself, we acknowledge how we're feeling, good, bad, and in between. We then have a clearer perspective in the third eye. Our solar plexus nourishes the third eye. So when we are nourishing ourselves, we have a clearer vision. We can see possibilities and other opportunities, and other points of view don't seem so threatening.
That's so true. And I just love how you say all that. And it really does come back to love, which is what Reiki is.
Yes.
I love that. It all circles back to the same thing. So let's talk about resilience, and is it necessary for emotional freedom? And if maybe you could define for our listeners, what do you mean by resilience? What is your definition of resilience, and how is it necessary for emotional freedom?
Thank you, Deb. Yeah, that's a very important question. Resilience is becoming quite a large topic, certainly in Australia and in Australian schools. We're having quite a high increase in depression with children and suicide in young teens. So this is also exacerbated in adults as well. So our emotional intelligence and our emotional connection is really important. Emotional resilience is when we can experience our emotions, positive and negative, but they don't crumble us. They don't deflate us or define us. Emotional resilience is really, again, comes back to self-love. When we feel that we honor our feelings, when we honor that we're having a bad day, when we honor we're having a great day, so we have to honor all of our feelings. We have a better relationship with ourselves. So if we know how we feel, if we know, for example, waking up in the morning and we're feeling great, we're feeling everything's calm, and there's some stuff going on in our lives, but we're generally feeling pretty good. And somebody who has another agenda perhaps, or is having their own bad day, whatever it is. It could be somebody at the bus stop or somebody you have more interaction with, may project, quite often, may project their own stuff. Their bad day, they project it, and they decide to criticize you. If you know how you feel about yourself, and if you know that you're having a good day, you know how you feel, you are confident. And so what happens is when somebody is projecting their bad day at you, you can see it just bounces off. It might trigger something for you to look at later, but you have more space and more distance because, okay, well, that's not true, or that's an interesting point of view, but it's not my point of view.
So you're not reactive because you have the self-love, you have the self-acceptance. And I know when I'm triggered, and this has taken many, 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 many years of Reiki and other healing modalities, but I can actually say to myself, what's the lesson here? Why am I triggered? Why do I want to react, but I'm not going to? Or sometimes, even when I do, what is going on? Because it's me. Because if that part of me were healed, I wouldn't be reacting. So there's something in there that I need to take a look at later. But you're right. If we have that knowing of ourselves, and again, it circles back to the principles. Just for today, I will not get angry. I can get angry tomorrow, but then tomorrow it's just for today. It's such a good reminder to have that. And I do believe the more that we as practitioners or just someone that's getting Reiki on a regular basis, the more that we work with that energy, the easier that becomes because we have that level of awareness.
Yes, absolutely. And you are reminded, because you are constantly in contact with that inner peace, that inner love, that becomes the norm. So when you are exposed to chaos, whether self-inflicted or external, you see the untruth of it, because the truth is the peace and the love within. That is our true essence. And I teach a lot of meditation, and then we do a lot of work on truth and true essence to remind us that is who we are. And it's interesting, I just want to come back to that point of when we have, when we're feeling like we're in a centered place of self-love, self-acceptance, and external issues or situational projections happen. Yes, we may get triggered. It may go, oh, ouch, that hurt a little bit. There is something there. But the resilience is a difference between, oh, that's interesting. There's something there I might want to look at, but it's not all me.
Right.
Really want to emphasize that, because quite often, especially when we're very open to learning lessons, which is how we evolve, all those gifts, we can sometimes take on other people's journey.
Yeah, that's true.
Actually, part of the journey isn't ours. Maybe the part of the journey is standing up for ourselves and saying, I appreciate what you're going through and your point of view. I don't agree.
Absolutely.
Maybe the gift is to stand up for ourselves. Or maybe the gift is, oh, ouch, that still hurts. Maybe I need to do a bit more self-care and self-love and inner strength with that.
Right.
Because especially, and I find this a lot, I have a lot of clients that work through their emotional things, whether it's at work or in relationships, and particularly in unhealthy relationships where there's power play. There can be a response of, why am I being treated so badly? And why do I deserve this? Which is a very different perspective to, that's interesting. What positive action is this forcing me to take?
Right.
Now that is the key. What positive action is this scenario, situation, forcing me to take? Maybe it's forcing us to step up. Maybe it's forcing us to walk away. Maybe it's forcing us to be more self-loving, self-caring, whatever it is. But it's the positive action that it's forcing us to take. And that is a gem.
That is wonderful. That is key. Absolutely. That's a good way to look at it. Can you repeat it again? What?
What positive action is this forcing me to take?
I love that. Yes.
Isn't that great?
Yeah. I'm going to put that at the bottom of all the principles. What positive action is this forcing me to take? Because it really makes us look at it in a deeper perspective, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you can apply that to light things. It could be a bit of road rage on your way to work or wherever you're going. Oh, this has happened. Okay, just for now, we're not anger. Okay, interesting. This anger's coming up. So what positive action is this forcing me to take? Maybe it's forcing me to put my alarm clock on half an hour earlier. Maybe it's forcing me to breathe. Maybe it's forcing me to slow down.
Yeah, I love that. So any last words or anything you'd like to say before we wrap up about emotional freedom and resilience?
I would really love to encourage everybody who's listening to really indulge in more Reiki. And I say indulge because especially as practitioners, maybe we don't have as much as we would like our clients to have, for example. So I would really love you to have much, much more Reiki as much as you can. Pop yourself on a healing book. In Australia, we have the Australian Reiki Connection. .com.au. They have an absolute healing book. Anybody can put their name on there. Pop your name on there.
Oh, nice.
The tip of, healing. Because the more that we are connected to Reiki, the more we are reminded to that self-love, that inner peace, and that reminds us that we are whole and complete, and resilience just builds and builds. So yeah, I really encourage everybody to have more Reiki.
Get more Reiki, absolutely. Thank you so much. So Samantha has a couple of offers for our summit listeners, and if you could please subscribe to her newsletter, you will receive a complimentary breathing technique to strengthen and ground your auric field. And she's also very generously offering $50 off a 1-hour distant healing. This offer is open for 14 days after this airs at the summit to the first 10 lucky listeners. And to subscribe to her newsletter, you can go to her website at www.samanthaavery.com, and that's SAMANTHAAVERY.com. And you can also find Samantha on Facebook at facebook.com/Samantha Avery Energy /. Thank you, Samantha.
Thank you, Deb. It's been an absolute honor to be part of the summit, and thank you so much for facilitating this for everybody across the world. It is so important, and I really appreciate your work.
Oh, and thank you for your words of wisdom. You said some really profound things, and I've just loved this interview. Thank you so much.